Hey, everybody, this is Stan Scott,
And this is Scott K.
and we're here for the very next episode of the Foggy Bottom Line podcast. This is the October 6th edition. And today we're going to sort of step back a little bit from other subjects and refocus on the campaign. When I say that date in my head, I realize that we've only got 4 weeks left until Election Day. So Scott and I wanted to talk a little bit about the campaign and how it's going. Scott, I know you've got some display ads up. I saw one this morning when I was sort of surfing through my news feeds. How's it going? Just let's start with just how do you think things are going so far?
Things are going really well. When I started this campaign, I was told that I had a zero chance of winning this thing, and that was probably true. Uh, right now, the odds of flipping this district is greater than zero, but is it 1% greater than zero, 2%, or 50%? I don't know, but we're going in the right direction. We're doing all the things that we need to do, and we're getting all the indicators that we're engaging with the people that we need to engage with in order to pull this off. And we're doing that a couple of different ways. We have kind of a three-pronged strategy. One is local meetings, mini town halls. We've had over a dozen of them in all three counties that the district represents. And those have gone very, very well. We've had good interaction and really they're kind of listening events for me to find out what's on people's
Right.
minds. Uh, and of course, we have the traditional sign campaign. We've been very fortunate to uh, be able to get some really good sign locations that give us a lot of visibility around the district. And in a rural district like this, roadside signs rather than yard signs or rather than door
Mhm.
knocking are really the way that you touch people or get your name out there, get some name recognition. Uh, because there is no radio station, there's no TV station, but everybody drives the roads to get to school, get to the grocery store, get to work. Uh, so got a lot of feedback, positive feedback on that. And then our digital campaign is really where we've been spending a lot of time and money. And it's a little bit non-traditional in terms of a democratic campaign strategy. But again, looking at who our voters are and which ones we need to reach, uh, it's really the only tool that's available to us to get out and reach the voters that we need to touch. And a lot of exciting things going on with the digital campaign.
That's very good to hear. It's very cool. Like I said, I saw one of the ads this morning, and of course, I can tell we're friends on Facebook. We're both on X and Blue Sky and all those. So I see a lot of the social media activity going on. Of course, uh, this podcast is at least peripherally part of that strategy. But you mentioned spending money on this stuff. I guess that means the fundraising is going fairly well. I mean, a campaign like this is not going to raise $1 million, but um, how's that going? Or do you feel like you're okay financially? I mean, the website, folks, if you're listening and you'd like to, drop $10 on Scott's campaign, it's www.scottkforva.com, and the donate button on there will take you to Act Blue. But is it going well? Are you comfortable with where you're at on that?
Yeah, actually, I am. We've raised more money than what I thought that we would. And I'm really grateful for those people who are supporting me as a candidate and supporting the campaign and helping us get the message out. And when I first started the campaign, I was told I needed to raise $200,000, which is absolutely a ridiculous number. This is a part-time job that pays $17,000 a year. It's crazy to be spending six figures in a campaign. So I deliberately built a campaign strategy, campaign plan that relied more on volunteers like you and others that are helping with the campaign, so we can lower our expenses and costs. And we're in the middle of doing the calculations for the next reporting period for how much we've raised. But we're anybody who's interested could go to vpap.org and kind of see where we're at and
Right.
see who's been giving us money. But we have enough money to do a 5-figure digital ad campaign,
Cool.
which I'm really grateful for. That's kind of the big accomplishment here, as well as financing all the other things that we need to do, the website, the signs, and the swag and all that. But in the last week or two, contributions haven't been coming in as generously and as frequently as they have been. So I'll just echo what you said. If you like the message, if you like what we're trying to do here, if you align with our values here, please go to the website or Act Blue and donate generously. Right now we're in the mode where any future contributions are going uniquely to our digital campaign to expand that. And let me talk
Okay.
a little bit about that so you kind of know what you're getting for your money.
Go.
So
Yeah, sure.
we've been on social media, primarily on Facebook because that's where our voters are, since the beginning of August. And our followers have grown pretty quickly. We started out with an organic campaign, encouraging supporters to engage with our content and to share it out. And through Labor Day, we grew quite a bit, but it was just organic growth. We raised enough money to be able to go into a paid mode with our social media and to boost things. And it just kind of took off right after Labor Day once we started doing that. You know, we have almost 200,000 views of our social media just since Labor Day, or actually September 9th.
Wow.
So just a little over a month.
that's
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 I'm
non-trivial.
not. That's not trivial, and that's 75,000 unique viewers. You
Even
know, which
better.
is really kind of insightful. That's really what we want to do. We want to engage people, and we've been geo-targeting, geo-fencing the ads, so they're focused just on the district. So we're assuming that most of those viewers and interaction is with voters in the district. And in terms of interactions with our posts, we have almost 500,000 interactions with
Oh,
our
okay.
social media since since September 9th. So things are going really well. A couple of things kind of happened that are really interesting to me as I do my political analysis. Is I wanted to make sure that our digital efforts, particularly social media, wasn't just reaching other Democrats, people who were going to vote blue anyway,
Right.
and because we really need those purple voters or those typical Republican voters. We need to pull a few onto our side to be able to pull this off. So to do that, you have to talk to them. You have to know you're getting your message out there to them. And since the Republican clubs weren't inviting me to come speak to them, uh,
Really?
um,
They didn't?
yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. I'm not sure they invited Buddy either, but in any case, I wanted to make sure that we were getting to an audience that wasn't already going to be voting for us. So after
Right.
about 10 days of paid ads on social media, all of a sudden the comments start filling up with
Right.
hate and Republicans
Right.
and MAGA stuff. So bingo, there we go. We got out of the echo chamber
Got it.
where
Yeah.
people
Awesome.
that don't necessarily see things like we do are seeing the content.
That's
Uh,
awesome. That's great. Very good.
and so that was a positive thing. But the thing that really gave me confidence that we've succeeded at getting outside of the echo chamber, outside of our own bubble, is that the feed on our Facebook page totally changed. It went from all of this liberal progressive content to all of a sudden I started getting all this Republican content, there's pro-Trump content, uh,
Oh,
the kind of stuff that I'd never seen before, and content from publications and websites I'd never heard of. Uh, all of it uh, reflecting a different point of view than what we're trying to communicate. So I take that not as a negative, but as a positive, that we're getting out there and we're engaging with folks, and we're getting a lot of good response to our social media.
well,
But
when you and I first started talking, way back in what was it, July, August, even earlier, one of the things we talked about was trying to juice the algorithm on this stuff a little bit, right?
right,
Uh, and trying to get just get content up, and then get sort of interactions with people, get folks commenting and sharing, and sort of juice that algorithm, and which should theoretically spread the message out. And it sounds like that, at least in part, managed to work, right?
yeah, absolutely. This is what a juiced algorithm does and what it looks like. So I
Right,
think we actually succeeded in our goal there of getting the number of interactions, the type of interactions, the frequency of interactions that really started spreading the message and gave us visibility with larger audiences. So
right.
yeah, this is what juicing the algorithm looks like.
That's
Uh,
that's
I
awesome.
mentioned we're launching a 5-figure ad campaign. So all the social media and the boosting and the we put a couple $1,000s behind the paid ad so far. That's not part of that 5 figures. We're doing. Gee, I wish I understood exactly what it was better so I can explain it. But we're doing a digital campaign, putting display ads. Being an advertiser on people's web browsing. Whether you're reading an
Right.
article or going to YouTube. So we have display ads, which are static, and we're rolling out a commercial, a couple different formats of a commercial this week, professionally produced. So I'm really excited. I think we're right where we need to be. I think the timing's about right to reach folks.
No, very good. And before I don't want to belabor the fundraising piece, but folks, I ran for office twice, and my experience, I think, was similar to yours, Scott. A lot of early contributions, the folks that really supported me, and I got a lot of early $500 contributions from people in the district who wanted a Democrat to run and were happy there was someone out there. And then, but that person gave their 500, and then it kind of dried up. Um, so yeah, we got the 5-figure ad buy. We think there's enough money to get us through, but every little bit helps, and that means we could juice that ad buy up a little bit here in the last month of the campaign if we can sort of raise a little bit more money. So if you got $5, $10, every little bit helps. It doesn't take much to bump this up. The more signs we buy, the cheaper they are, that kind of thing. So if you have a little bit, if you can spare, the price of a beer, or a cup of coffee, go to the page, hit the donate button, and send it through to the campaign through ActBlue. But before we stop talking about fundraising, and I do want to get on to some other stuff, what kind of donors are you seeing? Because we know that a lot of these guys, I mean, I've looked at Buddy Fowler's VPAP page, and what I see, I think I saw 20,000 from Dominion. I saw a lot of money from the gambling folks, the people that want online gambling to be legal in Virginia, the people who want to build casinos in Virginia, in Richmond, in potentially in Hanover County. And if you're one of those folks that I grew up, my dad was a bookie, so I understand this stuff. And you're not going to make the illegal gambling go away by making it legal, right? I think that gambling casinos as a tourist attraction, like in Las Vegas or Atlantic City, can be a good thing. But I think making it so easy that I can just go on an app on my phone and gamble hundreds of dollars every day on football games or baseball games, or who hits a home run, right, or who scores a touchdown. That kind of leads to addiction and stuff. So what kind of that's who Buddy Fowler is getting his support from. So if you're anti-gambling, if you're one of these folks out there that thinks gambling shouldn't be legal or widespread, think about that. If you think Dominion's a problem and they're gouging you on the electric bill, think about that. That's who supports Buddy Fowler. Who's supporting you? What kind of donors are you getting?
So I'm getting small donors, very small donors for the most part. I've taken no corporate money. The I the largest donation was $1,000, a little over $1,000 from a neighborhood group, a coalition of 40 ladies in Chickahominy Falls that put together a little fundraising effort for me and gave me $1,040, and that was one of the largest donations. It's the second largest donation actually that I've received. So most of the money has come from my friends and connections and people who know me, but also many small donors. Now there's 27 candidates, Democratic candidates running in Virginia that are running in deep red districts, and I'm one of those candidates. And so 27 out of 100 Democratic candidates for the House of Delegates. The state party and the Democratic caucus in the House of Delegates, it is not interested in us 27 candidates. They haven't supported us financially. They haven't given us any encouragement. They haven't given us any support at all. And in fact, they really don't even talk to us. And there's a couple of people who have seen the value in Democrats challenging Republicans in all the districts, whether or not we have a real chance of winning or not. But to be credible, we needed to raise some money. So Fergie, what's Ferguson's last? What's Fergie's last name?
Reed. Yeah,
Fergie Reed, who is a longtime Virginia politics, Democratic politics insider, kind of saw this and worked with some of his connections, and they set up an Act Blue fundraising for us 27 candidates. And we've been getting small contributions from across the country. All of us have received $2,000 or $3,000 cumulatively from those individual donors. And among that pool, there's probably 300, 400 different people who contributed to my campaign through that. So that's been a real godsend to not just this campaign, but also
right.
To all the candidates. Now, Win Virginia, or one of the founders of Win Virginia, was very impressed early on with our social media effort and digital effort. And he gave a very generous contribution to help prime the pump and get us going on our digital campaign. So no corporate money, no Dominion, no beer distributor association money, which is
right.
another big donor, and no gambling interest, and no corporate money at all. So really proud of that. And actually, I'm going to just kind of pivot just a little bit. One of the issues that I think that's come to mind firsthand that needs to be addressed by the legislature is we need campaign finance reform here in Virginia. Basically, there are no limits on contributions. The assumption is if you disclose it, it's fine, it's okay. But that just puts corruption and bribery out in the open, which doesn't make it good or right or appropriate. And anyone who thinks that money doesn't come with strings, especially lots of money, is fooling themselves. There are strings attached to every large donation that any candidate gets in the state of Virginia.
Well, if Dominion gives a candidate or an elected official $100,000 for a campaign, or maybe 300,000, like I could name some names that take literally that much. One I think took 700,000 and doesn't even have an opponent this cycle.
Right.
Then at the very least, you answer the phone when they call, and you listen to
Right.
them. And they're not answering the phone when I call, and they're not listening to me. But real quick, before I do want to get a little more into that, but the Fergie Reed thing and Charles Gaba, his friend who set up the Value Pack 27. If you're listening and you'd like to know more about that, I did a short video on that last week. So look at the YouTube channel and you can find out some more detail on that and why that's important, right? Because I agree, when I ran twice, I got no support from the Democratic Party of Virginia or even really from local officials. The good news is that GABA seems to have shamed some folks into contributing to that Value Pack 27. Right, and I won't name names, but if you want to know, you can find out pretty easy. This is all public knowledge. But yes, campaign finance reform. There's two big problems with campaign finance in Virginia. The first that you just mentioned, there's literally no limit, none, zero. So if I'm Elon Musk, if I've got Elon Musk money, and I want my friend Scott K to be elected, I could literally give him $100 million for his campaign, literally. And it's not illegal. And do you think if I did that, Scott K would help me get something I wanted through the legislature? Do you think his buddies in the legislature, his colleagues on both sides, would say to themselves, this guy Scott has some real money and he's willing to buy the legislature, so maybe I'll sell my little part of it.
Right.
But the other problem with it is that there's really not a lot of regulation on what you can do with that money. Now, I didn't do any of this kind of thing, but you could theoretically, I could call my house my campaign office and pay all or part of my mortgage using campaign funds, right? I could use campaign money to put gas in my car every time I fill up and say, well, I'm going to campaign events, right? Or I'm doing legislative business. So this is sorely underregulated. And yeah, sure, the counter argument is, well, it's public knowledge, so voters get to decide if they want to vote for a corrupt delegate or a corrupt senator. That's kind of on them. But I mean, where do you think this gets us in the great scheme of things? There is one big upside to it, and that is if you're a candidate, it's really simple to report, and it's really hard to get in trouble for it.
Right.
So the only way you can get in trouble is not reporting at the end of the day. But where do you think this gets us as far as the polity, and what kind of legislature do you think that gets us?
Well, coming back to the point I made earlier, that how much it takes to run, or how much money people think you need to raise for a contest.
Yeah.
That pay for a part-time job that pays $17,000. Well, it's not worth it for $17,000 really to even put in the amount of time and effort and expense that I've been putting in, and even if you're service oriented. So I think when you talk about the what can you do with the campaign funds, I think that's the key to answering the question of why people do this, and why they're willing to raise so much money, why they think they need so much money, because it gives them power. They can give money to other people.
Right.
Plus, the things that they can do with that money, for either using it for their own lifestyle or building their own power base, is pretty huge, and it's pretty unlimited. And people are, unless it's something really obviously egregious, people don't get challenged on how they use their campaign funds after they've been raised. So after the election, people stop looking at it.
Is it a problem that someone, maybe a Northern Virginia guy in a very blue district, or a Southwest Virginia guy in a red district who holds these seats, and they're getting these hundreds of, these tens and hundreds of thousands of dollar donations from corporations, and they don't even have an opponent, or if they do, it's not typically a serious one if you're in, if you're in Botetourt County, right? So, but I mean, it strikes me that this is one of the reasons why we have these folks that win these seats. Then they support the corporations that put them there, and the next thing you know, they've been there 20 years,
Right.
and Dominion is left unregulated that entire time, or other corporations,
Right.
because they're not going to hold Dominion's feet to the fire as long as those checks keep coming, right?
Right. Right. So there's a point when a candidate's unopposed or has minimal opposition that it transforms from being a campaign contribution to being a paycheck.
Right.
With expectations associated with the paycheck. That's the only way you can justify or explain why corporations and lobbyists will give 5-6 figure donations to candidates that don't have any opponent.
Right.
Because they're not campaigning, they're not using it to campaign.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. And this is, just campaign finance reform by itself is a good subject for another podcast, maybe after the election, or a spot report, because maybe one of the things I'll do, Scott, over the next few weeks is do some short videos on who's getting this money and where it's coming from, right? That might be helpful
there's not
for
a lot of
voters.
there's not a lot of journalistic reporting
Right.
going into who's raising money and where it's coming from. There's a little bit of horse race, kind of who's winning the fundraising wars that gets reported, but nobody digs down to that next layer. Where's the money coming from, and what are they doing with the money? Which was the intent behind having this robust disclosure requirement,
Right.
is that interested parties could take that information and pursue it, run down the leads, and to be able to report out what politicians are doing with that money or campaigns. But you don't see a lot of that. Mostly you just see the horse race type of reporting. So-and-so raised more money than this other person in this last reporting quarter, or so-and-so is not a credible candidate because they've only raised this amount of money, rather than looking at where the money comes from and how it gets used.
Right. Well, in a former life, I wrote an academic paper trying to connect contributions to congressional candidates from defense contractors with their votes in Congress on defense bills and defense issues and spending. And I found there was a correlation, but you could not, of course, demonstrate causation. But maybe we need something like that at the Virginia level. Maybe I need to sit down and take a look at Buddy Fowler's contributions, who he's getting money from, and what kind of votes he's cast in the legislature, because this is the kind of thing voters need to know. And like you just said, the whole logic behind this system is that someone's doing that. So voters have that public information. So we've talked a lot about campaign finance. We've talked a lot about the money side, fundraising. We got a good sense now. We're really glad to hear that things are going well, especially on the signs and the social media, and you're meeting people, you're out there talking to voters. So as you talk to voters and you get the feedback on social media, what kind of things are you hearing? What are the could you talk about maybe 2 or 3 big issues that seem to come up over and over and over again? I think I can guess because I live here too, but what are you hearing out there?
Yeah, well, first of all, we'll get this out of the way. All the trolls, social media trolls, want to talk about transsexuals and grown men and little girls' bathrooms. That's the only thing they want to talk about. So that's a major issue with a certain part of the population who's not going to vote for me. But we hear that a lot. But in terms of the voters that I'm engaging with, there's a general concern about what's going on at the federal level, and everyone acknowledges, yeah, this is a state level office that I'm running for, and we need to be focusing on state issues. But the chaos, the government shutdown, the doging of America, the cuts and clawbacks that have been going on in Washington are all shaping what the nature of state government's going to be, and people are starting to
Right.
figure that out. So
Yeah.
that's bubbling up as the issue that people want to talk about, and it manifests itself in a couple ways. They're worried about education and healthcare, uh, uh, wages, unemployment, and the impact of the tariffs and the trade wars. Uh, so that's what's on people's minds. And the only answer I've been able to give them that I think is appropriate for a delegate type position is that, yeah, all these changes at the federal level are pushing responsibilities down to the state. And state is going to transform state government, not just in Virginia, but across the country. State government is going to have to pick up the pieces and either continue providing the services and support to the population that the federal government did, or decide not to do that. So it becomes really a salient issue for state government, but it hasn't completely revealed itself what the impact is going to be, what the issues are going to be. We just know that when the legislature goes into session next year, that there's a whole lot of new issues that they have, budgetary and policy-wise, that they need to consider that they've never had to consider before. But getting down on a more local level, because most of the district is rural and there's large expanses of agricultural property or woodlands, and there's a good transportation. It's surrounded by a good transportation network. It's really prime for exploitation by large corporations and developers, specifically those that want to put in data centers. There's a number of data centers that are already going into Louisa County. There's some in Goochland County, immediately adjacent to the district, that are going in. There are distribution centers and fulfillment centers going in to have a huge, giant footprint and have a huge impact on the infrastructure. And people are very concerned about those coming in because they consume huge amounts of electricity. They're tremendously thirsty in terms of how water consumption. There's a lot of fear that it's going to drain reservoirs or lower the water table, and almost everybody in the district is on a well, so that could be catastrophic. And those impacts are not really being addressed by local decision makers that are approving the placement of these things, and the whole process is not very transparent as to why or how these developments are being approved, and the public hasn't had a real opportunity to have input on most of these. Right. So there's a frustration and concern also about the process of these coming in. One of the things I'm concerned about with data centers specifically is Amazon and these other large corporations that are putting in data centers. They put in scores of data centers over the last 20 years, 30 years. They know how to do it. They know how to talk to local government to get their approval. And they know that local government, especially in rural counties and smaller counties, don't understand. They don't understand the business model. They don't understand the revenue tax implications completely. They can easily be fooled or misled with information that appears to be straightforward. Local governments that approve these things don't always have the information they need to ask the right questions to the developers.
Right.
So I look at that as local governments getting rolled by these big companies that are owned by oligarchs for the most part.
And that sounds like a lick on your local basically board of supervisors, and it sort of is, but the kind of folks that run for those positions can't be expected to be an expert in how much water a data center is going to use and how quickly that's going to,
Right.
eat up the aquifer. They can't be expected to know that. And these counties, Louisa County doesn't have the money necessarily to hire an expert who can come in and explain it to them, right?
Right.
So,
But there is a role for state government here, and particularly the
right,
legislature. Uh, just like we have building codes
right,
that say if you're going to build this type of a building, you have to have this kind of a setback, you have to have this type of infrastructure, you have to have this many parking spaces. So all those things are objective standards that have to be met before a developer even goes to the board of supervisors or the planning board
right,
and asks for permission to do it. There is no equivalent for data centers. There needs to be a set of standards developed at the state level that says if you're going to do a data center, you have to produce X percentage of your own electricity on site. You
okay,
have to have a closed loop water cooling system, or you can't consume more than this, or you have to have an environmental impact study completed. If it's a transportation-based distribution center or fulfillment center, you have to do a traffic study and a road study and make sure that the infrastructure in place is adequate for that. All of those things would have to be done before Amazon even goes to the board of supervisors. So they've already met a minimum floor, and the supervisors don't have to have that
right,
kind of detailed knowledge. And if you're in Fluvanna County or Louisa County or Hanover County, it's all the same. So the same criteria are being applied across the board. And it's not like one county does it this way, another county does it that way. And then I think one of the most important pieces is that we need to ensure that there's always a public hearing process before approving the implementation or siting of a data center.
right.
And there are too many shortcuts for these companies to acquire land and then just come in and not have to get any kind of approval at all from localities.
Right.
So,
And this sort of state level regulatory regime would mean the counties couldn't, there could be no race to the bottom. And oh, by the way, that kind of circles back to this campaign contribution piece where, if I want a data center in Louisa County badly enough, there are ways I can get to those supervisors that have to vote on that. But if the state level has a regulatory regime, it's a lot more difficult to do.
right.
But it's important to remember that the people who are putting these in, the Amazons of the world, their pockets are basically bottomless, right? They have what amounts to an infinite amount of money to spend on this stuff. So, and what they want them all for, I guess it's AI, expanding the AI thing. But if they want it bad enough, they have the money to buy whatever they want. So, voters, people need to stand up and push back and say, wait a minute, this is going to affect me personally when my well is dry and I can no longer live in Louisa County or farm there because there's no water coming out of the well. Right.
Right.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
a huge issue. And I've heard that a lot as I talk to people in the district as well.
Yeah. So another thing to keep in mind is these corporations do not care about the impact on the local community. They don't care if it changes the way of life. They don't care if it changes the economic base. They don't care. They're in it for their profit and to achieve their goals. And that's why I think a public input process to all these decisions is essential.
Well, and it's important for people. It's important to be transparent about this and to let people who will be affected by it give them the information they need to understand what's happening, what the potential consequences are, and how they can push back if they want to do that, and tell the supervisors, hey, I'll run against you next cycle if you vote for this. Right.
Right.
And that's not a Democrat or Republican thing. That's how we want our community to look and how we want it to be and what we want our quality of life to be like, and whether we want these big distribution trucks on our roads that aren't built to handle them, right? Well, I'm trying to take my kids to school. So, well, we're
Right.
up all. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's really important that we have standards at a state level so that counties can't go and do what they want to do and adversely impact adjacent counties. I live near the border of Hanover County and Goochland County, and Goochland County has decided that Eastern Goochland, they're going to uh, put in, they're going to permit data centers, distribution centers. They're going to fully develop Eastern Hanover County or Eastern
Yeah.
Goochland County. Well, that has a tremendous impact on portions of Henrico County and portions of Hanover County. And there's in the current system, there's no input process to
Right.
input or even take into account the collateral impact of the decisions that Goochland County is making, which I mean to include a mini nuclear power plant that
Really?
has been proposed and nominally approved by Goochland County to go in 10 miles from where I live right now. So,
Wow. Really?
yeah.
You
And
you want to see a thirsty set up piece of infrastructure, a nuclear power plant, pretty much takes the cake.
right. Well, and it's adjacent to and in support of data centers that also consume.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so that's how they get the power to run the data center, which means both are sucking water out of the aquifer.
Right.
And you know, remember, folks, the water table, these aquifers where we all get our drinking water, they don't have county lines. That thing does not. You know, you start sucking water out of the ground in Goochland County, and you're killing the aquifer in Louisa, in Hanover, in Henrico, the city of Richmond,
Right.
and so these things don't have boundaries. They don't have borders. These aquifers. So, well, we just went over 40 minutes here, Scott. So we've talked a lot. I'm really happy to hear the campaign's going well. The social media. It sounds like you're having fun out there
I
talking to people and
I am.
meeting. I mean, I know myself that it can be kind of a grind because there's something every day, and you really just can't let up. It's really hard to take a day off because you feel like you've missed a chance to talk to 20 voters who could be the difference. But you got to take care of yourself as well, and keep on plugging. And we're in the home stretch. We've got basically 4 weeks. I think the election's a week from yesterday, and so early voting already started. Early voting's already open. You can vote in person early. I think you can still ask for a mail ballot if you need to do that. If somehow you're you live in the district, or your home is in the district, but you're overseas for some reason, maybe in the military, maybe the Peace Corps, or one of those organizations. Now's the time to get your mail-in ballot in.
Right.
But and by the way, what you just heard Scott say is that the state has a role in regulating these data centers, right, and what they look like and how they impact your community. And Scott will be at the front of the line trying to get smart people in a room and create that regulatory regime so that we have the data centers we need, we have the power production we need, we have the distribution centers we need, but that they don't destroy the communities we live in and change the way life looks like in rural Louisa County or suburban Henrico County or rural Hanover. So, any final thoughts before I go into the pluggables, the
Sure.
websites and such?
With all, in all fairness, we need to acknowledge that the current, in the last legislative session, there were significant efforts made to introduce regulations and guidelines for data centers. They didn't pass, or they were vetoed, or they just didn't answer the mail on the real issues. So I will be joining an effort and a realization that's already in place, rather than being the guy who thought of it for the first time.
Well, I meant you'd be out there leading the effort, whether you joined it late or not, right?
Right. Yeah. So we're coming into the last part of the election, and it's a month away, not a week. I think you said a week away. Uh,
Did I?
yeah, I think my wife wishes it was a week away.
I bet she does.
Yeah. But we
I
want to
bet.
finish strong. We
Yeah.
want to go in. We don't want to end on a whimper. So that's why it's important. If you want to support the campaign, you like what you're hearing, please donate so we can end strong and on top rather than cross the finish line out of breath and whimpering. So thank you, Stan, for featuring my campaign on Foggy Bottom Line. It's I sincerely appreciate it. Uh, it allows me to get my message out to more people. And anyway, I'm very appreciative of
I'm,
being here and sharing this stage with you.
I'm happy to support your campaign. You know, we were both at a meet and greet the other night, and we talked about how I was thinking about running, and then I found out you were thinking about running, and I won the coin flip, so I didn't have to do it. Right. So, but yeah, this is important. I believe this is very important to run in these red districts. That's why I did it twice. It's even more important in a statewide election year because there are folks in the 59th who wouldn't bother to show up and vote if they didn't have a candidate on their delegate line, but they will show up, and many of them will also vote for our statewide candidates, Abigail Spanberger, Ghazala Hashmi, and Jay Jones. So it's important that you know you're down there, out there on the ground, getting out the vote, even without a lot of money. And folks, if you don't have $5 or $10 or $1,000 that you can contribute to the home stretch here, you can support the campaign by volunteering. If what you like to do is knock doors, I recommend you volunteer for the state campaign, for the Spanberger, for the coordinated campaign. They're passing out lit in all the districts. They're talking to voters in all the districts. So they're supporting Scott's campaign in that way. You can also go to meetings where Scott is there and talk to him, listen to him, and then share what you heard with your friends and neighbors. And maybe the most important thing you can do is go on the social media platforms,
Yeah.
go on Facebook, go to Foggy Bottom Line, go to the TikTok, go to X, go to Blue Sky, comment, share, talk about this, get the conversation going. That's what juices this algorithm. That's what gets the message out outside of that bubble that we talked about, you know, early on in this sort of podcast. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. You can do it at your kitchen table. You can do it while you're watching the football game. Just get on the Facebook page,
Engage.
share, comment, any of those, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Engage with the social media.
yeah,
Ask your questions. Engage. Share. Reach out to other people in your circles, and remember, we're looking for people who are not in our echo chamber to
right.
reach.
Yeah, that neighbor you have who doesn't seem like they're very political. They never had a Trump sign or a Harris sign. They don't talk politics much. When you do the you know the annual sort of community picnic, that's the person we want to try to reach out to. That person who's not paying very much attention to this kind of thing most of the time. You know, we're steeped in it. I was steeped in it before the campaign. I know a lot about it, but there's a lot of folks out there that just don't hear much. So if you know someone like that, it's important to get a hold of them, and you don't have to pitch, grab their elbow at a party and start jabbering in their ear. Just share something on a text, just a link to the Facebook page or something like that. Say, I thought this was interesting. Thought you might want to read it, right? Something like that. Once again, Scott's campaign website is www.scottka4va.com. You can take a look at the Foggy Bottom Line stuff at foggybottomline.com. We're on YouTube at Foggy Bottom Line Media. We're on Instagram and TikTok and X and Blue Sky at Foggy Bottom Line. Scott is on, I think it's Election Yoda on X. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Alexa Yoda on X, and Alex Scott K on Facebook. Just go and do the search. Add as a friend, follow, all of those kinds of things. Subscribe to the podcast. It doesn't cost anything. All it does is, if you subscribe to this podcast, whenever you pull up YouTube, you'll see a list of your subscriptions to the left. So it makes it easier for you to find the latest episode or issue of the podcast, or my short videos, or Scott's short videos.
Yeah.
Right.
But more importantly, it encourages us to keep going and keep doing this.
Right. Yeah. Encourage us, folks. Tell us what you think we're doing well. Tell us what you think we're not doing so well. The sound quality, the video quality, the topics. If you'd like for us to discuss a certain thing, if you have questions, put it in the comment. I promise I look at the comments. I will answer your questions if you have them. I will engage with everyone, even the trolls. I think that it's important for us to have a dialogue with anyone who wants to. Now, if all you have to say is F off, that's not a dialogue. But if you have a genuine question about what I think about something, I'll be happy to answer and discuss it with you. So, keep that kind of thing coming, and let's go out and win this thing. We got basically 30 more days, pretty much, not a week, a month. So let's
28 days.
28 days. Let's get down to it. Let's win this thing. Scott and I will be back next week. In the meantime, I'll do some short videos, and we're just going to keep doing this until someone makes us stop. So 2 old combat soldiers with a microphone, doing the best we can to get in some good trouble and win a couple of elections. So thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate you and what you're doing, and our friendship. So let's just keep on trucking and do everything we can to make everyone's life a little bit better in Virginia.
Right. Thank you, Stan.
Right. So, take care.
Carry on.
Signing off.